Hello, everyone. Well, what I'm going to be talking about is the controversy between religion and science and how that relates to the theory of form based on Plato's idea from Socrates. So now religion and science has always had a controversy on as to what it is that we should believe on. Of course, there's a third party in which philosophy plays a part. Plato, as a student from Socrates, we believe that we live in a world of theory of forms. The theory of forms is the belief in living in a world that is a replica of reality. The real question is, does Plato side in any factor? Can religion and science ever agree in a term, or is the theory of forms a way of how all this controversy began? Now, Jada F Smith, a writer from the New York Times, wrote, quote, at a climate protest, Science and Religion, she talks about the differences in both categories and how they have joined to help improve the environment. A historical point in life where, quote, some religious leaders have begun to see the issue of weather extremes, fossil fuel emissions, and threats to habitats as a mortal one. They mention Dr. Martin Luther King as a metaphor in comparing such two different beliefs jointing into one and another to help each other. So for the past few decades, global warming has become a major issue in society. The following message from Mr. Yearwood, a scientist that was written in the article, said, Dr. King would say that we need to come together because this is our planet, and if we lose this, then all the other issues won't matter. So, taking this issue back to history, Dr. Martin Luther King, as a reverend who saw all humans were equal and physical appearance was just a difference in the skin color, looking into the allegory of the cave, whom Plato wrote in behalf of Socrates, the story was quite similar in the aspects of not just focusing on what we see physically, but what we see mentally. In the allegory of the cave, the prisoners were chained, facing one direction, seeing nothing but shadows. One prisoner had overcame the chains and the theory of forms to find his pure form. I believe Dr. Martin Luther King found his pure form in viewing the outside of segregated walls shown upon him. So, has religion and science, in putting aside their matters, to cooperate as one but in different beliefs? So, what I'm asking is, have they finally united? Now that's one of the questions. So the thing is that both of them have united to create the same outcome, which would be to prevent global warming. So based on the theory of forms, in which we are assimilated into society's beliefs, the things around us are not real, if not abstracts and conceptions of our reality in our mind. Meaning we have become limited to our own creation of what it is to be real. Now this is where Rene van Wildenberg comes in and talks about these limitations and the limits of science and Christian faith. Points out several limitations, but those who stuck out the most were some limitations in which I'm going to provide them with you right now. So the first limitation, it was a limitation from extra scientific knowledge. The second was the limit for knowledge by acquaintance, and the third was the limit from unlimited questions. So Wildenberg discusses how the findings of science has affected Christianity and how the rational matters has either abandoned it or reformed it drastically, arguing how science has many limitations, which loses the claims force, which loses, the meaning as to what they were trying to prove, their hypothesis. So, going back to the article of the allegory of the cave, Plato, or in other words Socrates, uses the shadows as a distinction of how far the prisoners are from reality. The merging of the mouth of the cave being the enlightenment of the pure form of reality, he quotes, human beings lining in the underground cave, which has a mouth open towards the light and reaching along the cave, last of he will be able to see the sun and not mere reflections of him on the water, but he will see him in his own proper place and not in another, and he will contemplate him as he sees. So what I see is that the reality is thinking and seeing things differently, having your own train of thought. That is what science has created for many people, and that's why they have second-guessed their religion or statistics on what to believe in and what to value, on how to see what's right from wrong or should be valued or not. So now, speaking of values which has been limited by our own minds, as Wildenberg has explained in his article. The limit from extra scientific knowledge, meaning, quote, true belief is necessary for knowledge, it is not to deem sufficient for itself, in which a person believes lacks on something important, which is justification. So this is a differential of science and religion. It is a form or acquaintance with knowledge. For an example, one may think it's 1 p.m., but it's 5 p.m. One cannot know it's 1 p.m. unless one believes it's 1 p.m. The limitation of knowledge by acquaintance. To never have acquainted but know truths about a person. So you can know the truth about someone but not even know who they are. So that's a limitation as well. Where science obtains knowledge of creating hypotheses, predictions of nature, so it has a truth. But religion has a truth value mentality on what to believe in, not on what is shown or seen, which creates the limitation from unlimited questions. So this unlimited questions is taken by having questions and not having an answer for it. It's the reality on what it is that we believe on what it is that we want to believe in. You know, it's like when Plato said, it's like having a question on what Plato would say, like, quote, must there not be some art which will effect conversion in the easiest and quickest manner, not implementing the facility of the sight for the existence already, but has been turned in the wrong direction and is looking away from the truth. Now, many people will argue different answers for what it is that he has to say, for this is philosophy. So now, this is where the theory of forms comes into play, and visualizing what is reality. So if the limitations to our own knowledge and religion has been created, truthfully, the answer has not been involved yet. But it has been bloomed within the past decades, as we see such two different factors, science and religion, collaborate together and fix a major problem, as shown as the climate protest, Science and Religion by Jada F Smith. So, looking within her article, she talks about both collaborating and actually helping global warming, as I once said. So now this is a major, point in history where both of them are colliding to make a difference. So now, basing on the theory of forms, have they awakened from the simulation of reality of what they've been thinking of? So are they actually basing on everything on reality? The reality is that global warming is happening. And science has different options and opinions, but religion is taking in the science to do something, to help people, to help encourage people, to help science prevent this happening. So, has Plato and Socrates, have they been agreeing with both of them, both of the factors? And I see one other major factor is that Socrates was said to believe that he doesn't believe in any God, and the Apology, he says that he does believe in a God, and he believes that God sent him to earth to teach the showings of philosophy. Philosophy I believe, plays a major issue in science That's the reason why everybody believes in different things. That's why some people believe that we reincarnate and others don't. And it's a whole big controversy. At the end of the day, though, has a pure form been created? And has religion and science joining together an example of what it is that we can possibly do? What is possible to do with people and their mentality, and how Plato and Socrates have discussed throughout decades in the past history, in all of us reading their teachings, the allegory of the cave, the apology, and thinking more and being more. I believe in my answer is that, as I said before, it's not answered yet to my research question, but it is blooming, and we are on the verge of creating a new historical point in which we might create and we might be simulated to a pure form, just like Martin Luther King in finding his pure form with the segregation and seeing that segregating people isn't right and people are equal, or like any other major factor in the world.